Hi everybody, this is Mr. Nolan, and what I would like to do with you right now, since some of you were out today, I wanted to really quickly run through what we did for your benefit, and if you're lucky, maybe you can get upfront on some of this work over the weekend. That way you don't have something to come rushing back and try to figure out what we did. So we're continuing to dive headfirst into water and water resources. A week crammed with investigations and labs and explorations and web quests and all kinds of things. So we used Google Earth today. We tried to use Google Earth in spite of some technology issues. And what the point of this investigation was to use Google Earth, this tool, to identify the major disasters that can result from improper use of water resources. When water resources are overused or abused or underestimated, when they're not treated properly, what kinds of things can happen. So there were 3 disasters that we investigated, and I want to show you the sheet that we used. This is I sent this out on Remind with this link, but it looks like this. It's a Water Resources Google Earth investigation. Our goal in this investigation is to use Google Earth to identify major disasters that can result from improper use of water resources. So there's some background there. When we're using Google Earth, in order to get the right setup and the right version, you have to download Google Earth Pro. So if you don't have that on your computer, go online, open up Chrome, go online and download Google Earth Pro. You can try to use Google Earth online, the online version. It works really well. It just doesn't have some of the features that I wanted us to use today. So we did the best that we could with what we had. What you're going to do is you're going to download Google Earth Pro, and you're going to go to a given location. And at that location, I'm going to ask you to go back and forth in time in order to look at before the event happened and after the event happened. And I'm also going to ask you, if you can download Pro, the most updated version, I'm also going to ask you in some situations to calculate how much area was affected. So I'm going to show you how to use both of these tools, the area, using area, and also the history tool, so that you can kind of zoom back and forth in time to see how these disasters affected the given area. So I'm going to show you right now how to do that on this sheet. So the situations we're going to look at are the Aral Sea. This is a huge disaster in Kazakhstan that happened through the 70s, 80s, 90s, and up to the current day. A big ecological disaster that we'll look at. The Auroville Dam Spillway disaster, you probably didn't hear about this, but it was a really big deal in California. It happened in just before Valentine's Day in 2017. And the Bento Rodriguez tailings dam disaster in Brazil, which in all likelihood most of you haven't heard of either, that occurred in 2015, sort of toward the end of the year. It actually happened, I think, on Christmas Eve, or the day before Christmas Eve. So we're going to look at these three disasters, and I want to kind of show you how to do this. So here I have opened up Google Earth Pro. Again, this is not the online version. This is the Google Earth Pro version. The online version sort of works, but it doesn't have the history tool. So if you are able to download the Google Earth Pro version, there's a search box right up there. And what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to type in Aral Sea, and you should see it right there. If you just click enter, and it's going to take us to the Aral Sea in Kazakhstan. It's going to travel there, and here is the Aral Sea. So what the sheet is asking you to do here is to zoom back and forth between a few different years and to approximate the area of the Aral Sea in square kilometers, calculate the change since the previous year, and also just describe the appearance. If you can't get the Polygon tool to work, then basically it's just a descriptive observation. Just tell me what you see. You don't have to measure anything, but tell me what you see. If you can get the Polygon tool to work, though, then I'm going to want you to actually do a little bit of measuring. So here's the Aral Sea. And let's go ahead and open up the historical tool to kind of zoom around and see if we can figure out how the sea has changed over time. So to use the history tool, there's a little clock here with an arrow. You're going to click that. And what that's going to do is it's going to open up this slider bar. This is a timeline. And you can use this timeline to move back and forth in time. So if we go all the way back in time, if we grab this slider, go all the way back in time to 1973, that's the Aral Sea way back in 1973. This was when Kazakhstan was part of the Soviet Union. And so you can see it's a big dark blue. It's a sea. It's a few hundred miles across at least. And so if we go ahead and we take our history tool and we zoom forward, here it says to go to 1984. So if we zoom forward to 1984, there it is, we let it update, that's what the Aral Sea looked like in 1984, about 11 years later. So you can notice, just by looking, a really significant difference between 73 and 1984. There it is. So we can see it's gotten a lot lighter, and it has, kind of changed significantly. And if we move forward, our next date is 1997. Whoops. So we're going to zoom forward to 1997. There it is. And you can see it's even lighter on the edges. And if we zoom forward again, what is our next one? 2016. So about the current date. We zoom forward to the most recent time, and you can see there's like none of the sea left. So that's the history tool, right? Just using that history tool to sort of zoom back and forth and try to figure out, what has it done over time. But what I also want you to try to do is to use the Polygon measuring tool in order to actually calculate what is the area of the Aral Sea and how has this changed over time. So to do this, I'm going to demonstrate this for you. I'll demonstrate it for 1973. So we've got our Aral Sea, this is 1973. In order to use the Polygon tool, you're going to go up here to where you see this little pill-shaped box that says Add Polygon. You're going to click it, and this box will come up. Now in the Pro version, when you go to Measurements, it should tell you the perimeter and the area of your polygon. And we're going to pick kilometers just because we want to try to stick to metrics when we're doing science. So kilometers and square kilometers. And I'll show you how to use this tool. So as soon as you open up the Polygon tool, you'll notice that your cursor changes to a little reticle, this sort of box, almost like you're aiming for something. And so if we just pick one edge of the sea, we want to try to estimate the area of the sea. So if I pick an edge of the sea and I click, and I just click along the edge of the sea, what happens is you'll notice that this polygon begins to shape itself. It will fill itself in with white. And so as I sort of just approximately follow the coastline, what's happening is that this this polygon is sort of shaping itself. And it can be a little confusing because sometimes parts of the polygon will close out other parts of the polygon temporarily. So I'm just going to do my best to try to kind of estimate, okay, what is the approximate area of the Aral Sea. I'm not doing anything really perfect and scientific. I'm just trying to be close here. And you can move a point. If you misplace a point, you can actually move it a little bit. That way you can maybe be a little bit more precise if you would like to. So I've got my Aral Sea all clicked out. There's my polygon. Now if I go, it's technically a polygon. It's got lots and lots and lots of corners. It's really just a big polygon. Now if I jump over here and if I look at my perimeter and area, you can kind of see here the number of square kilometers is reported right there. And it will actually change as you move the dots around and as you add dots. So according to this, as I have, kind of roughly gone through and done the edges, the approximate area of the Aral Sea in 1973 was, we could say maybe 57,000 square kilometers. We'll just round that to the nearest, 1,000 kilometers. This outline is probably going to change because we saw that as we zoomed forward in time, the area shrank and shrank and shrank. So, I'm going to write that number down. So, we could go over here to our worksheet and we can say, okay, our approximate area was about 57,000. So you would want to jot that in. Now let's zoom forward to, let's just zoom all the way forward to 2016. You would want to do each one, but just to kind of keep this tutorial simple, we'll zoom forward in 2016. So I'm going to click OK. By the way, if you want to get rid of this polygon temporarily, once you click OK, you can just uncheck the box and it will disappear. If you want to look at it again, you can check the box again and it will reappear for you. So these won't actually disappear until you tell them to delete. They will actually save themselves on Google Earth on your desktop. So let's zoom forward, use our historical imagery to zoom forward to 2016. And you can tell there's a lot less area for us to look at. So let's go ahead back to our Polygon tool. We're going to add a new one. Go to Measurements and make sure we're in the right units, which it looks like we are. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to get our area. Now, What's going to complicate this a little is that you'll notice the Aral Sea has kind of split off into sort of a western or southern sea, and then there's also chunks of the northern sea here. So here's how I would advise that you do this. I just did this chunk over here. That's about 4,000 kilometers. So what I would do is go ahead and jot that down, 4,000, and then create a new polygon. Okay, let's figure out what this northern one is. So again, I'm being very rough here. I'm just kind of running through really quickly. Okay, and this one is about 3,000, so I would jot down 3,000, click OK, start a new polygon, and really all I'm doing is I'm just trying to kind of estimate, well, where would I say is the edge of the sea, just based on your best judgment. There's some parts where it's really pale and it's hard to tell, is there water there or not? You just want to do your best. There is some water in the middle there still that you can kind of see, and so that one's about 6,000 kilometers, and so I can click OK. So, and you can always just go ahead and right click on one and go to properties, and it will open up that measurement again. So if you forgot a number, if you didn't write it down, you can right click on the polygon, open up this in properties, and it will show you what the square kilometers are. So once you add up all of these polygons, you can go ahead and add those in here. It's the approximate area in kilometers. I'm going to guess it's something like 12,000. I don't know exactly what the number is. But what we're really doing here is we're establishing through the Polygon tool and through the history tool what was the approximate area in kilometers and how has that changed over time. And you can also go ahead and you can record the appearance. How has the appearance changed over time? So you're going to have to still do 1984 and 1997. And what I put down here, they're just rough estimations. So you're going to want to find your own statistics there. But that's the general idea behind what we did in class. And despite a few technical snafus, we mostly were able to kind of get things to work. We had some trouble with the Polygon tool trying to get measurements. Anyway, that's what I want you to do today is to actually go through, do the Aral Sea. And there's some questions here too that I want you to look into. Why? How did it change, and why? Why did it change? You're going to have to do a little bit of Googling. Wikipedia is fine to use. You can use any source that you want. And I want you to talk to me about what were the environmental, ecological, and human economic effects. The Auroville dam spillway disaster, that's something that you're going to have to use Google Earth just to go to Auroville Dam. If you just type in Auroville Dam, it will take you there. And you want to try to figure out what happened to that spillway. If you want to read about the spillway first and then investigate it in Google Earth, that's fine. That way you kind of really know what you're looking for. But same thing, you're going to use that historical imagery to go back and forth in time to look at what did the Auroville Dam spillway do just before Valentine's Day in 2017. Give me some sketches, give me some observations, and then down here, for the one in Brazil, you're going to type in these coordinates. Go ahead and type those into Google Earth. That's going to take you directly to the tailings dam. If you remember from mining, we encountered this term tailings back in the mining units, which I believe was chapter 8. If I remember correctly. So tailings are waste substances that are produced from a mine. So like the crunched up rocks and sand and grit and all the stuff that's left over from a mining operation, that's tailings. And they will pile these tailings into a big valley, and they'll stop it up with a dam at one end. Well, this is an example in which the dam failed and broke, and the tailings fell out of the dam. And so what I want you to do is to use that historical imagery to go, excuse me, find that coordinates and use the historical imagery to go back and forth and see what happened after that dam broke. I want you to go ahead and look downstream from the dam. So look southeast and see what happened in those downstream areas after that dam broke. And if you can, I want you to try to use the Polygon tool to estimate in square meters how much area was affected. This is kind of a hard one to do because you'll notice that the area is very snaky. It's almost like shaped like tree-shaped. So you're going to have to do your best to just kind of estimate, well, can you get an outline of a big polygon that shows how much area was affected. Look for something like 1 square kilometer. I'm just going to tell you. I would estimate it's about a square kilometer. So that's something like a million square meters. So, and then there's some questions here. Feel free to use Google. Feel free to use Wikipedia or any other resources that you want to use. If you struggle with this, I can talk to you when I see you next and try to get you kind of straightened out. But remember, you have to download Google Earth Pro in order for this to work quite right. and then try to follow along with those features the best that you can. This is good practice for what we're going to be doing next week for our lab, so I want you to try to get the best practice that you can in this investigation. So have a nice weekend, and I will see you later.